So in this segment, we're going to be talking about something that may not seem as serious as it is, but something I believe is pretty serious, hence why I'm covering it, which is that more than 160 cases of coaches engaging with legal sexual activity with teens, Freedom of Information request shows. And what this means is, their coaches sleeping with their students, I guess, or players, or whatever, however you want to define it, who are 16, 17, the age of consent, but there are also still rules around people you can sleep with if you're given a position of power. So more than 160 cases of sports coaches engaging in sexual activity with a 16 or 17-year-old in their care since 2016, a BBC investigation has found, prompting campaigners say the law must be changed. Victims, MPs, and the NSPCC have reviewed calls for legal loophole to be closed to ban anyone holding a position of responsibility over a child from having a sexual relationship with them. It is illegal for certain professions, including teachers, doctors, to engage in sexual activity with children, even if they are the age of consent. So, say a teacher, for example, sleeping with a sixth form student wouldn't be allowed. However, the Sexual Offences Act does not extend to sports coaches. The Ministry of Justice is carrying out a review of the legislation and says it will outline its plans in due course. But Sarah Champion MP said the figures obtained by the BBC were irrefutable evidence that the law needs to be changed immediately. And so the complaints were referred to the local authorities, but they do not constitute potential crime under the Sexual Offences Act purely because of the way it's written. And so, it talks about the vast majority of cases not being reported. I've been raising this with the government for 6 years now, and my frustration is that we keep on having reviews. That's the MP, Sarah Champion. And so why this is a big issue is the fact that it's a conflict of interest, essentially, and that these coaches, whether they do so or do it not willingly, not knowingly, is they have power over these, say, players. For example, if you're coaching say a football team, and the player, the kid may feel like they're in a position where I'm not going to make the team unless I do this, and the coach might not have that intention, but there's a reason why it's there. In America, you can't sleep with in universities, you can't sleep with students, even though it's well above the age of consent, because there's a conflict of interest there. And if the student feels pressured into doing something they don't want to do, then it's obviously wrong, immoral, and potentially illegal. And so that's why the classic case of the boss sleeping with one of their workers is always wrong, because there's a conflict of interest there, and that if the employee feels like they have to do something in order to keep their job or get a promotion, then it's wrong. And so in this case, it's the same thing, especially when you're still a young person and you feel like this is something you have to do because you want to make the team, or you want to make up whatever list you have to be to get to where you want to go in terms of the sport. So, you could use football in that case if you're an academy student, academy player, and things like that. So it's a massive problem, and there's a reason why it includes teachers and doctors. And that's because they have that power over a student. A teacher can say, look, if you don't do this thing, then, unfortunately, we're going to have to, exclude you from school, or, because you've done something wrong. If you see what I'm saying, if I'm making sense, hopefully, I am in this video. And, 100% the rules should be changed. Even though they're over the age of consent, there's still that conflict, that power dynamic there that's in play. And obviously them being younger, they may not fully understand it. And so Sarah Champion being frustrated by the constant reviews, and when a government does constant reviews, it's normally because they don't want to do anything about it. So they're like, there's a review going on, and so I hope that the government actually deals with this. And so she goes further. I think it's her to talk about, and part of the reason for that, the vast majority of these cases will never be reported, and part of that reason is that these sports coaches are grooming these children into believing they're in a legitimate relationship. It's not. It's an abuse of power. It's an abuse of their position of power. And some of these coaches, they start grooming the kid from when they're 14, 15. So when they're legal age, and they think this is a normal thing. If you see what I'm saying. And so sometimes it will take decades for a young person to realise what's actually happened and speak out about it. So 160 people that we know about will be a tiny minority of the actual people that they are abusing their position. Although abuse of positions of trust by sports coaches is not a criminal offence unless they work in an educational setting such as a school, some councils refer the case onto the police. It is also possible the relevant sports governing bodies and other safeguarding authorities were alerted to these cases and may have followed their own disciplinary proceedings. And so it's very likely that these people could be sacked over it, but they won't be put in prison. And it's not an illegal thing for them to do. So maybe they get hired by another academy because they don't know that they've done this thing. And so look, it's blatantly conflict of interest. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this should be stopped, or do you think it's fine because there is the age of consent? Something obviously I don't think is right because of the conflict of interest and the power dynamic. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.